evening, the Tesla Gigafactory on South Park Avenue in Buffalo is a topic of discussion in Albany.
We have to renegotiate the deal with Tesla or with another company.
And we want to make sure that we're getting the best deal possible.
After two Manhattan legislators propose a bill calling for an investigation into whether the company was meeting job creation targets, making promised investments, paying enough rent, and honoring job training commitments. The factory is in State Assemblyman Pat Burke's district.
I am a little frustrated by, two Manhattan legislators opining on a facility in my district without communicating that to me.
Nevertheless, he supports the audit and possible pulling of a lease agreement between the two parties altogether if that's what it were to suggest.
If New York were to pull out of this deal, what would go there? Where would those jobs go?
One, never do something like this again. Two, shop it around to see what we can actually get in there. But then three, if it's with Tesla, it's that they're not paying $1 in your rent. They're paying whatever the market rate for that facility is.
State Senator Sean Ryan also in support of the audit, though more keen on keeping the factory in Buffalo.
Is pulling out of a lease agreement of working with Tesla, is that essentially not an option for us here in Buffalo or for you?
I don't think that's a practical option. Right now we're struggling to refill this former Sumitomo plant.
The bill, with the tactical acronym DOGE, comes as Elon Musk continues to gut government programs and jobs. I asked the politicians, is this just a way for Democrats to hit back at Musk?
Yeah, it is. And that's okay.
So we have legitimate questions to ask about what Elon Musk is doing in our economy across the nation.
With local car dealerships actually running commercials suggesting people take advantage of pre-tariff pricing, it should be no surprise to hear this.
Our dealerships have seen a certain surge in sales the last, 5 days, 6 days.
Stacey says dealers did have a good inventory of cars on their lots as they usually prepare for a sales bump in February and March following the auto show. And then the automakers brought in some extra car product built outside the U.S., including from Canadian assembly plants in Ontario. However,
our dealers' concern is if this tariff comes, will they be able to get sourced enough inventory to get the cars to meet the demands of the public?
Stasiak, who represents sales professionals, does take issue with estimates of economists with the announced 25% tariff figure on what some may call pricing anxiety by consumers.
Please understand that $40,000 car will not be $50,000 tomorrow. It will not, and it's a pledge I would make on behalf of my dealers to say, don't fear the reaper, okay? But will it go up maybe 1,000, maybe even 600 or 500?
So why won't new car prices really climb if they're built out of country like in Canada or Mexico? His opinion after his pledge, perhaps the tariff fine print, manufacturer dealer discretion.
100% of those components in that car are not imported. It might be 30% of those components. It might be 40, might even be 60.
Another factor, the car parts for servicing a vehicle, where dealers and repair shops make a lot of money as compared to actual vehicle sales.
I think you got more negotiation going on now between the manufacturer and the parts suppliers than you do the manufacturer and the dealer.
For frequent crossers, even a small toll increase can add up, especially for Canadians who depend on these bridges for work and travel. That includes Jeff Axon, who transports cars like this one across the border for Canadian snowbirds, those who spend their winters in Florida and need their vehicles brought back home.
I come through here all the time and I'm always aware of the tolls. Nobody looks forward to paying more.
Starting in May, passenger vehicles will pay $6 or $8.50 Canadian per crossing at the Rainbow, Whirlpool Rapids, and Lewiston-Queenston bridges. Truckers will see rates jump to $34 or $48.50 Canadian for a standard 5-axle vehicle.
And last year when they made the changes so they weren't taking, kind of personal cash and things so much and trying to get people to use the tolls, it shot up really quite high if you tried to use cash. So I'm aware of this now. It seemed to have come down again, but now you're telling me they're going up. So I'm sure it's going to affect people. You know, all of these things affect people.
Some Canadians say the rising costs, including tariffs and exchange rates, are making them think twice about crossing into the U.S.
I think there's just going to be less interaction. Most of my friends have canceled their trips to the States.
But the CEO and president of Destination Niagara Falls, John Percy, says tolls alone won't stop visitors from coming.
If they want to travel, they're going to travel. We've learned that since the pandemic.
The Niagara Falls Bridge Commission says that this increase is necessary to fund bridge maintenance and infrastructure improvements. But for some travelers, it's just another reason to rethink their trips.
The problems related to it are too much to keep up with.
Stephen Arlington.
I just noticed this kind of incessant single-tone humming noise.
Peter Pescator.
It's just this buzzing noise.
And several other residents of North Buffalo and Black Rock.
It just sounds like a very low hum.
It's just like that dull
I cannot stand listening to this constant hum.
Say they're being inundated with industrial sound, specifically a frequency between 150 and 240 hertz, and they believe the sounds are coming from the Materion facility on Main Street in North Buffalo and the Wheeland plant on Military Road. That's the former American Brass plant. This is what 240 hertz of pure tone sounds like. And this is unedited audio from the NFTA lot next to Materion. This is what 150 hertz of pure tone sounds like. And unedited audio from the Wheeland facility.
And at first I thought it was crazy, but then I figured, I'd explore and go to what I thought would be the closest source, which would be Materion here, and fortunately walked up to it and figured out that was the issue.
And they say it's been going on for years. As far back as 2012, the two facilities have a combined 59 noise complaints against them in the city's 311 system. But they say their complaints about these two facilities are not being taken seriously.
I talked to the chief of police of D District. He said they don't have the sound analyzers, that they need to enforce it, and that it's not their job and that it's the permits department's job.
If it's something like loud music at a bar that you can hear 2 streets away, that's totally appropriate for Buffalo Police. Where it's an industrial noise, that's really would come more to our shop because we deal with buildings.
Permits and Inspections Commissioner Catherine Amder says that the complaints were taken seriously, but the city doesn't have professional audio engineers on standby at all times to conduct professional sound studies.
We reach out to business owners when there's an issue and say, hey, what are you doing? How can we improve things? Perhaps you need to get your own sound study.
Materion provided Two on Your Side with a notarized affidavit from a third-party sound study conducted in 2024. The report concluded that the facility is not emitting any sounds that would violate the city's noise ordinance. The company said in a statement, it has been determined that any noise or vibrations that were the subject of complaints could not be caused by Materion. Commissioner Amder said that the city will always follow up on reported issues, but also chalked some noises up to,
we live in the city, so an urban area by its very nature is loud.
Before our investigation aired, Buffalo Police denied my FOIL request for body camera footage of a series of crashes and the alleged cover-up involving Granville's sister-in-law, who is a Buffalo Police lieutenant. Now the department is denying a FOIL request from a member of the county legislature, which will hold a hearing on this controversy later this month. According to Erie County legislator Gene Vinal, Buffalo Police cited an ongoing investigation as a reason for denying her request for dash cam footage, body camera footage, and other records that might indicate whether Granville was drunk when he caused damage to 7 vehicles on Buffalo's west side, but faced no charges. The Amherst Democrat says she's less concerned about whether he was drunk and more concerned with how police handled the incident, which resulted in no charges and police reports that were signed by Granville's sister-in-law, who is a police lieutenant.
We can't, as a society, as a group, everyone who's involved, we can't be looking the other way. We can't be part of covering it up for some reason. Everybody makes mistakes, so that you can bring up a mistake and say, hey, I made this mistake. Okay, then we can decide, should this person have a take-home vehicle? What is the reason for all these people to have take-home vehicles?
We did reach out to criminal defense attorney Terry Connors, who is said to be representing Granville. Connors was arguing another case in Rochester and was unavailable to comment. Also not commenting tonight is Acting Mayor Chris Scanlon or Police Commissioner Al Wright. We did speak with the New York Coalition on Open Government. You'll find that on WGRZ.com, along with all of our reports on this investigation. On your side in the newsroom, Charlie Speck, Channel 2 News.
Layoffs at the U.S. Department of Education is concerning. It's because there is now a risk to financial aid that many low and middle income families depend on to pay for college.
I'm worried. At the same time, the most important thing any individual can do is fill out the FAFSA now, the free application for federal student aid, which really is the gateway to federal and state financial aid.
He says New York FAFSA applications completed are ahead of last year, but
we see real disparities between the districts that have the largest numbers of low-income students and more affluent districts. Unfortunately, the districts where there are the largest numbers of low-income students often have the lowest FAFSA completion rates.
At SUNY EDU, there is information on workshops, even how to get one-on-one assistance to fill out the form. When it comes to college enrollment, SUNY has seen 2 consecutive years of enrollment growth. But in Western New York,
SUNY Brockport, they saw significant growth last year. It is true Buffalo State saw some enrollment losses.
And while Chancellor King is concerned about federal aid, he mentioned the Department of Education's role in providing vital funding for students in grades K through 12.
Schools that serve low-income students through the Title I program, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act funding that helps provide services for students with disabilities.
It's something that's incredibly important.
Samuel Vaughn is the director of the Scott Beeler Child Advocacy Center at Best Self, the home of a new initiative being piloted only in Western New York, working with runaway youth and their families, from as young as 5 years old to 20.
But the primary age of a runaway youth is around young teenage years.
Kids who, for any number of reasons, are leaving home.
These are what nationally we would look at.
Citing physical or sexual abuse or a conflict with their parents or guardians. There were 638 runaway cases in Erie County last year, making Western New York a good candidate for a new approach, where instead of having police, legal advocates, and child protective services in separate silos, for the next 2 years, they'll be under one roof.
One of the things that we recognize is there's already a lot of hard work being done around this. But one of the things that the CAC can do really well is take all of those doors, so to speak, and connect them.
Vaughn says this actually started with Buffalo Police, who looked at the 500 runaways in the city last year and determined that many of them were repeats that may have benefited from services provided under this new initiative. Buffalo Police say they've already seen success with this new program.
We've already seen over 24 kids that have run away. About half of them are linked with services. And I can tell you that the conversations we have from parents is relief, fear, and then some understanding of how am I going to move forward here.
Those conversations are playing out with every service needed for a child or parent in Best Self's new building on Main Street in Buffalo, literally under one roof. So if they can get more first-time runaways in the door,
we think we're going to create a healthier community
and be a model for the rest of New York. On your side in Buffalo, Rob Hackford, Channel 2 News.
At Jay's Barbershop in Hamburg, the haircut is just as important as the conversation.
A lot of times men harbor their feelings. In a barbershop, it seems like men will open up a little more.
It's where, over his years of being a barber,
Well, glad that you're here today.
Jason Leap has focused on knowing the details of his clients from the cut to their roots.
Some people, they just come in, they're just getting a haircut. It's just a business transaction. Meanwhile, there are those customers that they become friends.
Evan Granville was one of those customers. He came in every 3 weeks until 3 years ago.
He completed suicide on the 31st of March, so this is to honor him. The 31st is his death anniversary, and we just want to be able to do something to give back.
That's the reason Leap and a team of barbers are cutting hair for 24 hours.
People are nervous to talk about their feelings, specifically men.
It's an intimate relationship that a person has with the person who's taking care of their hair. That might be the person who notices something's not right with this person today. They don't seem their usual self. Take them aside and have that private conversation and say, "Are you okay? Is there anything I can do to help?" And that could save a life.
Raising awareness about mental health.
We can help one family not have to go through what we have gone through.
would be great.
All while supporting the Suicide Prevention Coalition of Erie County.
About 80% of the suicide deaths in Erie County, and it matches a national trend, are men in the middle years of their lives. So the ability to reach men in this setting is just wonderful.
Starting conversations.
Everybody needs somebody to talk to. It's a friend or somebody professional.
To know that not only inside the walls of this barbershop, but also on the outside of it, you are not alone.
You're valid, and there are people that care about you. I hope that we can be a resource for people to maybe get some help if need be, and just really to bring awareness to the whole cause.
On your side, Courtney Courtwright, Channel 2 News.
This new A-frame sits at 169 Allen as a tribute to Mickey Harmon and Jordan Coletto.
We want to watch it just grow into this wonderful symbol and celebration of life so that we can focus on all the great things that they did and help people to really appreciate the value that a life and even a short time can contribute to our communities.
The Allentown Association just bought this piece of land at the corner of Park and Allen with plans to develop it into a thriving community space. For now, people can stop by to write a poem, attach a photo, or something special that celebrates Mickey and Jordan's lives.
This is something that was built by two of our residents, Rachel Mitchell-Spade and her husband. There were a lot of people who said we'd like to be able to continue to share our memories, share our thoughts of Mickey and Jordan, and really put a positive spin and celebrate the diversity that Allentown has represented for so many decades.
You can draw on the back and attach things to the front. And again, this is just the beginning. With the help of a community planner, the Allentown Association will host meetings to come up with ideas.
What the community tells us they would like to see, that's what this lot will be. We have technical ownership, but we want the community to feel like this is their space.
And no matter what takes shape, this will always remind people of two of Allentown's biggest supporters.
We hope for decades to come, people will say, what can I do? Something small, something big. I can help somebody else with something, but I'm going to give a little bit of my time to make the community a better place.
I wish I loved me the way I love you.
At a time when they feel invisible.
What I see, help me learn to.
Tonight, Buffalo's trans community making sure they're seen.
Bad days come, bad days pass.
Taking the mic and gathering on this Trans Visibility Day to send a message of acceptance.
Just coming into a space that feels like everyone in the room is a safe person is really rare right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's Jack Kavanaugh with Gliss, Western New York.
Absolutely. We hear that constantly from our young people, that it's just, this sense of, like that you don't matter, that you're just sort of disposable.
He says this year's Visibility Day has a deeper meaning than years past because of recent changes since President Trump has taken office that restricts gender on passports, threaten gender-affirming care, and erase trans history on federal websites.
These are our neighbors, our friends, family, coworkers. These are just human beings who want to go about our lives.
Lives that make up less than 1% of the U.S. population, but still find themselves being told by 50% of voters last election that their rights have gone too far.
This isn't a small, powerless social and political minority. This is a group of people who are part of our community, and you can't pick on them because you don't think they can fight back.
Tonight, a community that feels invisible, using this day to make sure they're seen. On your side, Andy Payton, Channel 2 News.
New York State Police say a man drove into Niagara Gorge near the Whirlpool Bridge behind me. That incident happened last night, and today we're learning new details, including that the driver somehow survived that fall. According to state police, around 6:30 Wednesday night, a 42-year-old man from Niagara Falls drove his truck through a fence and into the Niagara Gorge at the foot of Depot Avenue. Police say the man was able to exit the truck and walk out of the gorge to receive medical treatment. Officers searched the area and found there were no other victims. The driver was taken to ECMC by ambulance to be treated for his injuries. Officials say the man was driving a 2008 Toyota Tundra. Access to parts of the gorge is closed off to hikers as authorities continue to assess the scene of the crash. State police continue to investigate this incident, and New York Parks is determining the best way to remove this vehicle, which still sits near the bottom of the gorge. On your side in Niagara Falls, Chelsea Swift, Channel 2 News.
The atmosphere was absolutely jubilant. That's really the only word I can use to describe it for the 1,200 tradespeople who show up here every single day to work on this site, building the new stadium for the Buffalo Bills. It was certainly a celebration for them as construction enters a new era for this stadium. We want to show you some video we shot earlier today from our drone. You can see the sheer size of the stadium and the event today. A who's who of lawmakers, Bills officials, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, and of course the Pegula family, all of them signing that final piece of structural steel that was lifted into the air and put in place as, again, they enter a new era of construction. Again, 1,200 tradespeople show up here every single day, and they worked through an absolutely brutal winter. Where on hand as well, they signed the beam, took pictures in front of it, and celebrated what's being called the largest construction project in Western New York history in terms of cost. Right now, the stadium's edging out at just $2.2 billion. New York State and Erie County contributed $800 million towards it, and the Pegula family and the Bills organization are on the hook for all the construction overages. Bills owner Terry Pegula took time today to thank each and every worker who has contributed to the stadium and shares how he wants to honor them.
We are going to have a place at this stadium where if your grandchildren want to see you worked here, they can pull your name up. I don't know how, this is beyond my pay grade doing stuff like that. But they'll be able to come to the stadium and say, hey, my granddad or my father worked here. And I think you all deserve that.
Now, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell was on hand as well and said that the new stadium guaranteed that the Bills will stay in Western New York for decades to come. And with that promise comes hope and anticipation for development at the old stadium. And that's where my colleague Kelly Dudzik joins me right now, and she was looking into that angle for us. Kelly?
Yeah, I talked to people who work at the businesses around here today, Nate, and they told me they are very excited to see this new stadium take shape. We all know it's been years in the making, from the site selection process to seeing the first renderings. And now businesses and restaurants and bars near the stadium can see the light at the end of the tunnel with today's ceremony and beam raising. They're looking forward to the day the first game is played here.
Very exciting. It's one step closer to getting the stadium done. I actually watched it go up. It's pretty cool.
It was interesting, like going, all right, this is like now the beginning of the end. Like watching this all just transpire the entire time the last 2 years. Now the last steel went in. Now just to see all the other cosmetics start coming along, it's actually been pretty exciting.
They have the unique experience of seeing the progress being made every day. Unlike other people who might just come out for Bills games, they also told me they're interested to see what kind of development takes place around the new stadium. Live and on your side in Orchard Park, Kelly Dudzik, Channel 2 News.